Picture this. You have just arrived in Berlin.
Oh, nice.
Right. But it's been a long, grueling day of travel. Your flight was delayed, you're exhausted, and honestly, you are absolutely starving.
The worst feeling.
It really is. So you pull out your phone to find a nearby restaurant. You want something genuinely good, right? Not a tourist trap. You scan the area on your Maps app, and boom, you spot a place right around the corner.
Lucky find.
Exactly what you think, because it boasts this glowing 4.8-star average and over 600 reviews. People just seem to love it.
Which usually means it's a sure thing.
Right. It sounds like an absolute sure thing, so you grab your coat and head over. But what if those stars are an illusion?
Yeah, that's the catch.
What if that pristine rating was carefully curated, not by like a master chef perfecting their craft, but by a team of lawyers systematically scrubbing away any trace of criticism?
It is a genuinely unsettling thought.
What?
Especially considering how heavily our modern decision-making relies on the wisdom of the crowd.
Oh, entirely.
I mean, we inherently trust those little yellow stars as an objective measure of reality. And when that reality is artificially engineered, it completely breaks the social contract of digital maps.
We treat them like gospel. And that reality distortion field is exactly what we are unpacking today. Welcome to the deep dive, everyone.
So glad to be here for this one.
We're looking at a massive shift that happened in Germany regarding Google Maps. The platform rolled out some radical new transparency measures to combat this uniquely German legal loophole. And this loophole basically allowed bad reviews to literally vanish into thin air.
Just disappear.
Exactly. So we are pulling from a really fascinating mix of sources today. We've got Google's own updated 2026 user-generated content policies, a deeply analytical breakdown from a digital marketing expert named Zdenek over at Digisolu.
Excellent piece, by the way.
Oh, it really is. And we also have some raw, on-the-ground forum posts from Google local guides who have been fighting in the trenches of this review war.
What makes this convergence of sources so compelling to me is that they approach the exact same phenomenon from three entirely different vantage points.
Right.
You know, the platform outlines the architectural rules, the industry analyst breaks down the hidden economics of the manipulation market, and the actual users describe the psychological toll of navigating it.
It's the full picture. So, okay, let's unpack this. Before we get to the new warning labels you might see on your next trip to Munich or Hamburg, we have to understand the environment that created this digital mess.
The root cause.
Yeah, the German legal paradox. Like, how do 5 stars get manufactured in the first place? Because I always assume that if someone leaves a bad review, it's just, there forever, unless it has hate speech or spam or something.
Yeah, and in many jurisdictions that is the case. The barrier to proving defamation is quite high, particularly in places like the United States, where freedom of speech offers a pretty broad umbrella for consumer opinions.
Right, you can say almost anything.
Almost.
Yeah.
But under German law, the concept of commercial reputation is fiercely protected.
Really fiercely.
Yes. The Google Help Center policies we're referencing explicitly outline how German courts interpret this. The law allows a company to demand the removal of what they categorize as false factual statements.
Okay, that makes sense. If I lie, they should remove it.
But here's the kicker. It also covers factually unjustified expressions of opinion that could harm their business standing.
Wait, factually unjustified expressions of opinion? That sounds like a contradiction in terms.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. An opinion is subjective. How can an opinion be factually unjustified? Like, if I say the soup was too salty, that's my experience. I tasted it, it was salty to me.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture of German jurisprudence, the distinction lies in the foundation of the claim. The German courts have established a precedent where businesses do not actually have to prove your statement about the salty soup is actively malicious or deliberate lie.
They don't. Then how do they fight it?
They attack the premise of the interaction itself. They simply claim to the platform that they have no record of you ever being a customer.
Wait. I assumed they would have to prove the soup wasn't salty, or that the kitchen doesn't use that much salt. You're saying they just say, we don't know who this person is.
Precisely. That's all it takes. They inform Google that they have no record of a transaction with the name associated with the Google account that left the review.
Wow.
They argue that because there is no proof of a customer relationship, the resulting opinion is factually unjustified.
Oh, my God.
It is a brilliant, albeit deeply cynical legal maneuver. Under this framework, the burden of proof suddenly shifts entirely away from the business.
And it lands right on the consumer.
Exactly. on the consumer and the platform. Unless there is concrete, immediate evidence to the contrary, the platform is legally compelled to remove the review to avoid liability.
That is just, here's where it gets really interesting to me, because this creates a massive, almost absurd loophole. It's like a twisted game of receipt lottery.
Receipt lottery. I like that. That's very accurate.
Think about it from your perspective, right? For you listening. You go to a cafe, you have a terrible service, the barista is rude, the coffee is lukewarm, and the pastry is stale.
Nightmare scenario.
Totally. So you leave a 2-star review to warn other travelers, like, hey, avoid this place. Then maybe 6, 7, or 8 months later, you get an automated email notification.
Out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. And it says the cafe's legal representative is challenging your review, claiming you were never there. You now have to prove you bought a cup of coffee half a year ago.
Which is nearly impossible for most people.
Who keeps a digital or physical receipt for a €3 coffee for 8 months?
Statistically speaking, almost no one.
Right.
And the analysis from the digital marketing expert points this out as the absolute fatal flaw in the system. Because when Google is forced to temporarily hide the review and ask the user for proof of the transaction—
like a bank statement or something.
Yeah, a credit card statement, an invoice, a specialized receipt. When they ask for that, the vast majority of normal users or tourists just fail to respond.
I mean, I'd just ignore it.
Exactly. The prompt might be routed to a spam folder. Or it might be written in dense legal German that a tourist can't even read. Or, as you pointed out, they simply threw the receipt in the trash the moment they left the cafe.
So the reviewer ignores the email or they can't find the receipt, and the result is that the review just disappears.
Poof. The review is legally and permanently scrubbed from the digital record.
That is so wild.
And the thing is, this didn't just happen occasionally as, like, a defensive measure by aggrieved business owners. Our sources indicate that this legal interpretation birthed a massive cottage industry in Germany.
Oh, of course it did. Where there's a loophole, there's a business model.
Right. Specialized law firms realized how infinitely scalable this process was.
Yeah.
They began offering businesses a service where they would mass delete negative reviews for a flat fee per successful removal.
So it became a subscription service for a clean reputation.
It became a highly systematized business model. These law firms utilize automated scraping tools to monitor a client's Google Maps profile.
Just constantly scanning it.
Constantly. And whenever a review drops below 3 stars, the firm automatically fires off a standardized legal template to Google claiming this person was not a customer.
They don't even check if it's true.
They do not investigate. They don't call the client and ask to check the receipts for that day. They just cast a massive net. They wait for the users to inevitably fail to produce a receipt from 8 months ago and watch the bad reviews vanish.
The economics of that are staggering when you consider the sheer volume of letters being sent.
It's incredibly lucrative.
That is just brilliant exploitation of the system, frankly. But it is incredibly frustrating as a consumer. Let's trace the long-term impact of this. What happens after 3, 4, or 5 years of this industrial-scale scrubbing?
Well, systematically, genuine negative feedback is wiped off the internet.
Right, and this raises an important question about systemic market distortion. Over time, this practice artificially inflates average ratings across the board.
You end up with entire industries looking flawless when they are deeply flawed.
Yes. A hotel with terrible hygiene standards, a landlord with predatory practices, or a mechanic that consistently overcharges. They might sit comfortably at 4.6 or 4.8 stars.
Because any customer who attempted to raise a red flag was hit with a legal notice.
And couldn't produce a perfectly preserved invoice to defend their warning. It completely destroys consumer trust. If every place is a 5-star place, then 5 stars mean absolutely nothing.
It's just noise at that point.
It makes you feel like you're flying blind even when you're looking right at the data on your screen. You think you're making an informed choice by reading the aggregate experiences of hundreds of people.
But you're actually just looking at the surviving data points.
Exactly. The reviews that the lawyers haven't gotten around to deleting yet, or the ones from the few people stubborn enough to dig up their bank statements.
It creates a profound informational asymmetry. The business has a low-cost, highly effective legal mechanism to shape reality, and the consumer has absolutely no way of knowing that the reality they are perceiving has been artificially shaped.
The map is no longer the territory.
Beautifully put, yes.
So, with consumer trust plummeting, the platform had to intervene. But how do you fight an entire country's legal system? My first instinct, if I'm Google, is to just ban the law firms doing this. block their email addresses, refuse their templates, tell them to get lost.
That instinct makes perfect sense from a product quality standpoint, but legally, it is impossible.
Really? They can't just block spammy lawyers.
No, because Google cannot ignore valid legal notices that comply with the letter of German law without exposing themselves to astronomical liability. They are legally obligated to process these complaints.
So they are trapped. They have to follow the law, but following the law makes their Maps product practically useless for tourists and locals alike.
A classic catch-22.
Exactly. So rather than fighting the German legal system in court review by review, Google chose a brilliant psychological weapon. They chose radical transparency.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The sources describe a pivotal shift, what the digital marketing blog calls a big bang in 2026.
The Big Bang.
Germany essentially became Google's testing ground for fighting this specific type of review manipulation. Since Google is legally obligated to remove the reviews when a valid complaint is filed and no receipt is produced, they comply with the law. They remove the review.
Right. They do what the judge says.
But they decided they are no longer going to hide the fact that they removed it.
This is my favorite part of the whole thing. If a company tries to clean its profile using these legal templates, Google slaps a highly visible public notice right on their business profile. Let's look at the specific visual example provided in our sources.
Oh, the Korean restaurant. Screenshot.
Yes, it's a screenshot of a Korean restaurant profile, and from a quick glance, it looks great. It has a 4.5-star rating based on 650 reviews.
Solid numbers.
Very solid. But right beneath those stars, framed in our source image by a big red circle, is a glaring warning icon and a sentence that reads, 51 to 100 reviews removed due to defamation complaints.
It is a striking visual intervention. You have the golden stars, which traditionally signify excellence and trust, immediately juxtaposed with a warning label that implies something hidden and adversarial.
It's so jarring.
It completely disrupts the usual user journey of mindlessly trusting the aggregate score.
I call it the digital walk of shame. It's basically a neon sign saying, hey, just so you know, this place sued a bunch of its customers to keep this rating high.
The digital walk of shame. That's good.
But I have a theory about the mechanics of this. If I'm Google, I don't just want to warn the consumer. I want to punish the business so they stop doing it. I'm assuming this warning actually tanks the business's search ranking algorithmically. Like if they have this label, they get pushed to the very bottom of the map results when I search for Korean food.
See, that is a very common assumption. But the Google Maps Help Center source is very explicit about this, and it might surprise you.
Oh.
The notice does not influence local ranking.
Wait, really?
Really. It does not affect where a business profile appears in Google search or Maps results. If you search for Korean food near me, and that restaurant is the closest and most relevant based on Google's standard ranking factors.
Sorry, distance and all that?
Yeah, distance, relevance, prominence. It will still show up at the exact same spot at the top of the list.
Wait, Google isn't penalizing them in the algorithm at all, like zero penalties.
Zero algorithmic penalty. They are entirely leaving it up to the user to judge. It is purely an informational transparency measure.
That is fascinating.
Google is essentially saying, we are fulfilling our legal obligation to remove these reviews, but we also have a commitment to deliver trustworthy information to our users. Here's the metadata of what happened behind the scenes. Do with it what you will.
So what does this all mean for the business owner then? If it doesn't hurt their ranking, why is this approach so powerful? Why would the digital marketing expert call this a big bang if it doesn't even drop them in the search results?
Because transparency speaks volumes about a company's internal culture. And consumer behavior shifts dramatically when presented with that context.
I guess that's true.
When a user sees that label, it completely recontextualizes those 4.5 stars. As the digital marketing blog points out, a business that spends money on lawyers to systematically silence unhappy customers is a business that isn't spending that money on improving its food, or training its staff, or enhancing its customer service.
It signals a defensive, deeply adversarial relationship with the customer base.
Exactly.
It's the difference between a restaurant saying, we're sorry your soup was cold, we fixed the warmer, versus prove to a judge you bought the soup or we're deleting your comment.
Which one would you rather eat at?
The first one, obviously. If I'm traveling and I see that a place has removed 100 reviews, I'm immediately walking the other way. I don't care if the remaining reviews say it's the best food in the world. I don't want to engage with a business that operates that way. It feels inherently hostile.
And that psychological impact is exactly why this measure is so potent. It relies on the consumer's critical thinking, rather than a blunt algorithmic demotion.
Right, it trusts the user.
It empowers the user with context, which ultimately hurts the business's bottom line much more effectively than a slight dip in search rankings. I mean, think about it. If you show up first in search, but every single person who clicks on your profile sees a massive red flag and books a table elsewhere.
Your conversion rate drops to 0.
Exactly. You get all the traffic and none of the revenue.
Okay, so if you're going to use this context, you need to know exactly how to read the fine print of these warning labels. How do you actually decode what it means in real time? Like, while you're standing on a street corner in the rain deciding where to eat.
Well, according to the official Google Help Center documentation, they don't give you an exact number. They break down the removed reviews into specific ranges to provide clear context at a glance.
Ranges, okay.
Yeah, scaling up based on the severity of the behavior. The first tier is literally just one review removed.
Just one. That seems pretty granular.
It is. Then it scales. 2 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 20. It keeps growing in increments, 21 to 50, 51 to 100.
Okay, I see the pattern.
All the way up to the most severe category, which simply reads, more than 250 reviews removed due to defamation complaints.
Over 250, can you imagine?
It's quite a lot.
A business taking organized legal action against over 250 individual customers. The legal fees alone must be astronomical. You could have hired an entirely new kitchen staff for what you paid that law firm.
It really puts their priorities in perspective.
It really does. But let's dig into the criteria, because I imagine Google has to be incredibly careful about when they apply this label. They don't just slap this on for any deleted review, right?
No, not at all. The expert analysis and the official policy outline 3 very strict criteria that must be met for a removal to actually trigger this counter. First, the removal must specifically result from a valid defamation complaint under German law.
Okay, so if a review is removed because it was just a bot posting spam links, or it contained inappropriate language, or it violated some other standard Google policy against hate speech, that doesn't count towards the warning label.
Correct. It has to be that specific legal mechanism initiated by the business.
Got it. What's the second criteria?
Second, and this is crucial for travelers to understand, the count only reflects removals processed in the last 365 days.
Oh, interesting.
It's a rolling window.
I have to push back on that timeline aspect. If it's only a 365-day rolling window, doesn't that mean a business can eventually clear their name if they just stop suing their customers?
Whoa, yes.
Like if a notoriously bad restaurant sued 300 people in 2024, but behaved themselves and fired their lawyers in 2025, by 2026, their profile looks completely clean again. That feels like a loophole that lets bad actors off the hook.
It might seem like a loophole at first glance, but if we connect this to the bigger picture of reputation management and behavioral economics, it introduces the vital concept of a clean slate.
A path to redemption.
Precisely. Think about the alternative. If the label was permanent, there would be zero incentive for a poorly managed business to ever change its ways.
Oh, because they're already branded.
Exactly. They would be permanently marked with the scarlet letter of 250-plus reviews removed. They would just double down on the legal strategy because they have nothing left to lose. They'd say, well, the label is there forever, might as well keep deleting bad reviews.
I see. That makes sense.
But with a 365-day rolling window, if a traveler sees a clean history for a previously notorious business, it indicates a distinct shift in reality. Either the management finally learned their lesson, stopped hiring lawyers, and actually invested in improving their service so people stopped leaving bad reviews.
Or they just accepted the bad reviews, stopped fighting them, and their rating organically dropped from a fake 4.8 down to a real 3.2 where it belongs.
In either scenario, the current state of the profile is a much more accurate reflection of reality for the consumer. It gives businesses a tangible reason to adopt healthy feedback cultures without permanently hiding their past misdeeds from recent memory.
It rewards behavioral correction.
Exactly.
Okay, I actually really like that.
Yeah.
It incentivizes good behavior moving forward rather than just punishing them endlessly. Now, what is the third criterion for the counter? What else has to happen for a review to be counted in that public shame label?
The third condition is that the count does not include reviews that were successfully appealed and reinstated by the user.
Meaning?
So if a business files a complaint, the review is temporarily removed. But then the user actually digs through their emails, produces that digital receipt, and wins the appeal.
Against all odds.
Right. If they manage to do that, that interaction does not add to the business's remove tally. The system only counts the permanent, legally enforced removals where the user was essentially silenced.
That makes the label a very highly calibrated instrument. It's not just catching noise, it's catching a very specific, successful pattern of silencing critics.
Exactly.
But removing bad reviews through legal intimidation is really only half of the manipulation equation.
Very true.
Because if a restaurant owner knows they can't delete a one-star review without getting a red warning label plastered on their profile, what's stopping them from just going to the dark web and buying 50 fake 5-star reviews to drown it out?
And this is where Google introduced its second major intervention alongside the transparency labels.
Oh, they tackle that too.
Yes. The digital marketing blog notes that Google's algorithmic defenses are actively monitoring for this exact counter tactic. When the system detects an unusual spike in purchased or bot-generated 5-star reviews, it takes immediate action.
What does it do?
It temporarily blocks the ability for anyone to add new reviews to that profile entirely. And it displays a distinct, separate warning to customers that the profile is essentially on lockdown due to suspected manipulation.
It's like putting digital caution tape around a crime scene. Like nothing comes in, nothing goes out until we figure out what's happening.
That's a great way to visualize it.
Yeah. But let's say a business is doing this slowly. They aren't triggering massive, obvious algorithmic spikes. They are just buying a slow drip of fake reviews. Maybe 1 or 2 a week to keep their average up and bury the legitimate complaints. As a user, how do you tell the difference between an honest review and artificially purchased praise?
It's tricky, but the sources provide some excellent heuristics for this. According to the analysis of how the German review ecosystem functions, an honest German review is remarkably distinct in its composition.
What does it look like?
It is highly detailed, it is factual, and it is extremely specific to the time and place.
Give me a hypothetical. If I'm looking at a bakery, what does an honest review look like versus a fake one?
Well, a genuine review will mention exact items. It will describe the specific behavior of the staff, perhaps noting that, the barista with the glasses was very helpful, but the line moves slowly.
Right, specific detail.
Exactly. It will quote specific prices or wait times. It provides a narrative of an actual human experience moving through a physical space.
And the fakes.
On the flip side, fake praise, especially the cheap praise bought in bulk from click farms, is almost always generic. It is brief. Very often a purchased review is just a 5-star or 4.8-star rating with absolutely no text at all.
Just empty stars.
Just empty stars. Or if there is text, it's something incredibly vague like, great place, highly recommended, or nice atmosphere.
It's the difference between someone describing the exact crispiness of a Wiener Schnitzel, the precise type of warm potato salad it was served with, and how the waiter brought them an extra slice of lemon without being asked.
Exactly.
Versus a robot just shouting, "Food good!"
Yes. The robot lacks sensory detail. When you are evaluating a business in this environment, you have to mentally ignore the raw star average and hunt for narrative substance.
Narrative substance, that's a good phrase.
If you see a sea of 5-star reviews with no text or just strings of thumbs-up emojis, while the few thoughtfully written reviews are complaining about terrible service or cold food, you are almost certainly looking at a manipulated profile. The sheer volume of empty praise is the tell.
Which is terrifying, honestly, when you think about how exhausting traveling can be. You have to dodge the legal scrubbers hiding the bad stuff with lawsuits, and you have to dodge the bot armies faking the good stuff with click farms.
It's a minefield.
It makes you wonder, who can you trust? If the entire ecosystem is a minefield of manipulation, what is the anchor to reality? Enter the local guides.
Yes. This is perhaps the most heartening part of our source material.
I love this part.
The forum posts we examined reveal the immense frustration and now the profound relief of the Google local guide community in Germany.
For those who might not know, local guides are essentially the power users of Google Maps. These are people who volunteer serious amounts of their own time, taking high-quality photos, answering user questions about wheelchair accessibility, updating business hours, and writing incredibly detailed reports on the places they visit.
They do incredible work.
They really do. And they earn badges and points for contributing accurate data to the map.
They are the backbone of the platform's organic ground truth data. And in the forum posts, you can hear their historical frustration with the German legal loophole.
It must have been infuriating for them.
Oh, absolutely. They talk about wanting to provide honest, helpful feedback to their communities, only to have whole industry's credibility ruined by fake reviews and aggressive legal removals. Imagine investing your time to carefully photograph a menu and write a thoughtful critique, only to get a cold legal notice accusing you of defamation a month later.
The quote from the forum post really drives this home. It says, "You want to provide honest feedback, but the credibility of entire industries suffers from fake reviews, review blocking, or aggressive removal requests for alleged defamation." You can feel how demoralizing that must have been.
Totally demoralizing.
It's like trying to build a sandcastle while someone else is actively shoveling it back into the ocean.
But the introduction of these new transparency policies has completely changed the game for them. The expert blog specifically notes why a review from an active local guide carries an almost impenetrable weight in Germany now.
No, my assumption is that Google just gives them a free pass. Like, if you're a level 8 local guide, Google just ignores the lawyer's letter entirely.
It is not a free pass.
Oh.
Because again, Google cannot ignore the law.
Right.
It comes down to the immense weight of the burden of proof. Practically speaking, if a reviewer has a high-level local guide badge, meaning they have dozens or hundreds of detailed, location-verified reviews across various cities and businesses,
Right.
it becomes incredibly difficult for a lawyer's standardized template to successfully claim this person is a fake profile or was never actually in the building.
Because the metadata proves it.
Exactly.
If a lawyer says this person was never a customer, but Google's backend shows the user's GPS pinged at that location, their profile shows they reviewed the coffee shop next door an hour prior and the museum down the street 2 hours before that, complete with original photos carrying time and location stamps. I mean, the lawyer's generic claim that we have no record of this person falls apart instantly.
The sheer volume, consistency, and technical footprint of a local guide's activity authenticate their presence in a way that a legal template simply cannot refute.
That is so cool.
By raising the technical barriers against abuse and by publicly shaming the companies that use these lazy legal templates, Google has drastically increased the value of a genuine local guide's word.
They are like the verified blue check marks of the culinary world.
That's a very apt comparison.
If a level 8 local guide writes 4 paragraphs about how dry the cake was and uploads a photo of the dry cake, you can take that to the bank. No lawyer is scrubbing that away without a massive specific legal fight, which they won't undertake because it ruins their flat-fee business model.
Exactly. This highlights a profound cultural shift that the forum user points out. The era of just suing to mask bad service is ending. The quote from the forum is quite powerful.
What did they say?
They said, "Transparency is not a risk, but an opportunity. Those who provide true quality have nothing to fear from these warnings."
I love that. It's forcing the online review ecosystem in Germany back to a normal, healthy level where actual quality wins over legal intimidation. It forces businesses to compete on the merit of their product, not the size of their legal retainer.
It is a fascinating course correction. The strict interpretation of German law created a market distortion, and the technology platform had to create a counter-distortion
Unethical transparency.
to restore the equilibrium of trust.
We have covered so much ground here. We've gone deep into the legal weeds of the factually unjustified loophole, the economics of the scrubbing industry, and the algorithmic battlegrounds of bot farms versus local guides.
We really have.
But I want to make sure you, listening right now, can actually use this on your next vacation. Let's synthesize everything we've uncovered into a rapid-fire, practical conversation. Let's build the ultimate tourist playbook for navigating German Google Maps.
A practical application of everything we have discussed. I like it.
So let's say I'm landing in Berlin tomorrow. I'm hungry. My first instinct, deeply ingrained over a decade of using smartphones, is to open the map, search for food, and look for the highest star rating. You're saying I need to completely rewire that habit. What's my new muscle memory?
Your very first action, before you even look at the stars, is to scan for the red flag.
Step 1. Scan for the red flag.
Always look just below the star rating before you even read a single word of a review. If you see the text X to Y reviews removed due to defamation, turn around, find another place.
Just walk away.
That label is a neon sign telling you that management prioritizes lawyers over quality. It means the stars above it are mathematically compromised.
That is the ultimate filter. Okay, so step 1, check for the label. If it's clean, I move to step 2. Instead of just reading the first review that pops up, I need to hunt for the local guide badge.
Step 2. Hunt for the badge.
When I'm scrolling through the reviews, I should prioritize the long, detailed ones written by high-ranking local guides. I need to look for that little star icon next to their name. These are the people whose reviews are the hardest for lawyers to fake or delete. Their word is the most reliable currency on the map.
That leads perfectly into the third shift in your muscle memory. Step 3. Beware the empty 5-star. You must train yourself to ignore pure star ratings that have no text attached.
Right.
If a place has a 4.8 average, but no one is actually talking about the food, the service, or the atmosphere, it is highly suspect. Remember our analogy. You want the detailed sensory description of the schnitzel, not a bot shouting, "food good." Volume of stars without narrative substance is a massive red flag.
And the final piece of the playbook, check the timeline.
The 365-day rule.
I need to remember the 365-day rule. I can use the presence or absence of the warning label to gauge if a business is currently on good behavior. If a place has recent, highly detailed negative reviews that are staying up and haven't been scrubbed, it actually means they aren't actively suing their customers right now.
Exactly.
Ironically, seeing a few recent bad reviews might be proof that the business is actually operating honestly.
It transforms you from a passive consumer of algorithmic suggestions into an active, critical reader of digital ecosystems. You are no longer just looking at a map. You are reading the terrain.
Reading the terrain. I love that. Stand for the flag, trust the guides, ignore empty stars, and check the timeline. It completely changes how you travel and eat in Germany. Let's recap this incredible journey. We started by trying to understand how a glowing 4.8-star review could be a total fabrication.
We dug into the bizarre, uniquely German legal loophole where the low threshold for claiming a review was factually unjustified, birthed an entire industry.
An industry of flat-fee, review scrubbing lawyers. We saw how the burden of proof fell unfairly on consumers who couldn't magically produce 8-month-old receipts from a spam folder.
We then examined Google's ingenious response, weaponizing radical transparency, not by fighting the law in court, but by shining a massive spotlight on the companies exploiting it, introducing a psychological friction that algorithmic demotion couldn't achieve.
The digital walk of shame. We learned how to read those specific warning labels, understanding the strict criteria and the brilliant 365-day rolling window that allows for a clean slate and incentivizes actual rehabilitation.
We broke down the anatomy of a fake bot review versus the detailed narrative brilliance of a true local guide whose digital footprint makes them practically immune to legal bullying.
And finally, we armed you with the playbook to ensure your next trip is filled with genuinely great experiences, not legally manipulated ones.
It really is a masterclass in how policy, technology, and user behavior constantly shape and reshape our digital reality.
It absolutely is.
But it also leaves us with a broader, perhaps more provocative question to ponder as we wrap up.
I have a feeling I know where you're going with this.
Germany might be the testing ground right now because of its highly specific reputation and defamation laws. But we are entering an age of incredibly sophisticated AI-generated reviews and increasingly aggressive corporate reputation management worldwide.
Globally.
The tools to manipulate reality are getting cheaper and more accessible everywhere. Could this model of transparent shaming become the global standard?
Oh, wow.
If platforms worldwide decide to start explicitly labeling businesses that manipulate their scores, whether through lawyers, bots, or paid incentives, how will the basic concept of customer service be forced to evolve?
That is a fascinating question.
If you can no longer hide behind algorithms, legal threats, or synthetic praise, what happens to the businesses that have simply forgotten how to serve the customer?
Oh, that is a fantastic thought to leave hanging in the air. If the digital veil is pulled back globally, a lot of businesses are going to have a very harsh reality check. And honestly, as a consumer, I am entirely here for it. I want to see exactly what happens when the legal scrubbing stops and the real reviews start pouring in. Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive. Keep your eyes open, keep your critical thinking sharp, save your receipts just in case, and we will see you next time.